Hello, everyone. This is Jay Dobbins, your host of the Marvel DC Universe Fan Club, and we're now at episode 47. And I'll be discussing only one topic, which is I'm going pretty much going to be giving a review on Atomic Blonde, starring Charlize Theron and James McAvoy. So, I saw Atomic Blonde the other night, special screening, and I must say it was pretty good. It was good. I wouldn't say pretty good, but it was good. And I'll explain why. So, turns out, um, the movie takes place after Reagan's announcement, or the speech, the one that was, the one, tear down this wall, that one. So, it has an 80s theme pretty much, and the movie takes place in the 80s. So, um, but yeah, it starts off with her in an interrogation room, and she's being interrogated by British intelligence or MI6 superior or supervisor or whatever, or sorry, the director of MI6, I believe, or the British government, and of course the director of the CIA, played by um, John Goodman, and Toby Jones was the director of MI6. So yeah, you have that. So they're asking questions, and everything that happens, like as far as action sequences and everything, that happens early before she's interrogated. So she's pretty much telling the story of how it happened, how things came to a certain point. So what happened is, James McAvoy is trying to help I guess, a German, because I think it takes place in Germany, I believe. So, um, and of course, he is the contact, Charlize Theron's contact. Um, like I said, everything starts off pretty good. You hear 80s music, of course, and then you hear the little spray paint, the, that. And then instead of like the graphics are pretty much spray painted, which is good. So, and they did that every time. They'd be like, oh, like for example, Germany, spray paint. The graphics are spray painted. Anywhere in a location or time period, and the graphics are all spray painted. So you have that, and then you had the oh, sorry, yeah. So you had that in the '80s music, of course, and then everybody was dressed like they were in the '80s. You had the boom box and stuff like that. So no cell phones or any modern day technology that was in the film. So, but I say that this movie is one of Charlize Theron's best work. Sorry, Charlize Theron's best work. So, but anyway, so I say the first fight was pretty good. Um, actually, it all started when she's in the car with two Germans. They're about to kill her, but she attacks one of them with a shoe, and then attacks the driver, crashes the car. Driver's unconscious. James McAvoy's character comes in, introduces himself. She fires at him. She's like, what took you so long? She's like, oh yeah, I was late. So, but yeah, before that happened, the James McAvoy was making a deal with a German. I guess he was a spy or something like that. He had information. He had a list of names of everybody in every agency. I guess everybody, including the German. Um, I guess German spies, German drug lords, or whatever. So of course, German drug lord was looking for, or the kingpin or whatever was looking for that guy. But they eventually find him. But I'll get to that part later on. Um, so yeah, that was the first action sequence, and then later on. But what happened was, okay, there was this guy that was killed. You know, I guess they were like, I guess that was Charlize Theron's lover in the movie. In the beginning of the movie, he's the first one killed by a mediocre crook or whatever, or hitman. He wasn't nothing pretty much. So she's like, they show pictures of him and his dead body, and they're like, okay, did you know the guy? And then Shirley Theron was like, well, enough to say hello, so she wasn't really telling the whole story. So also, so you have that, but then she goes to the guy's place to find anything. So she does find something, and it's a picture of that guy, her lover, and James McAvoy. Turns out they knew each other, and James McAvoy did not mention that, and he wasn't really telling the whole story, so he was kind of holding back on some information. But then the cops come in later on. She beats the crap out of them, and I ain't gonna lie, she has done some crazy Jason Bourne crap, man. I ain't never seen a woman fight like that before. Charlie Theron's character was hardcore. So, um, so you pretty much have that, and then the fight choreography was excellent. Um, I was like, wow, people were saying, I guess entertainment reporters were saying that, oh, this is the female James Bond. But thing is, see, James Bond had gadgets and stuff like that. Charlene Theron's character didn't have gadgets, so I can't really say that she's like the female James Bond. If anything, I would say she's a female, Jason Bourne, pretty much. I could see that, because Bourne didn't have gadgets like Bond did. He had guns, his bare hands, and his brain. He was an excellent tacticianist, and so was Charlize Theron's character. So but oh, but so after that happens, she later on meets a French intelligence agent played by Sophia Bartella. Sorry, her last name is hard to pronounce, but she's best known for her role in Kingsman. She was the lady with the knife prosthetic legs or something like that. She was the amputee with the legs, knife for legs or whatever in that film. She was also in uh, Star Trek, the third Star Trek film, and her latest movie before Atomic Blonde was The Mummy. She was the main antagonist in The Mummy. So she was in this movie too. Um, so yeah, turns out she's lesbian. They had their little scene or whatever, but there was some humor later on while she's telling her story to two of the agents, one British and one CIA, American CIA. He kind of has that pause like and then of course everyone's laughing, and she's like, oh, so you made contact with the intelligence agents, see, agent. So she's like, yeah. So she's like, oh, and so he's like, oh, okay, yeah. You had to see the movie though, so it's pretty funny. So you have that, and so just have that, just two. It was like a lot going on though, so I'm trying to make the long story short. Oh, and by the way, long overdue. I forgot to mention that, spoiler alert, if you have not seen this movie, please do not listen to this podcast. So I forgot to say that. So I'm just going to kind of remind those or let those who are listening to this podcast know that do not listen to the rest of this podcast if you have not seen the movie. So you've been warned. Okay, but anyway, so you have that scene, and then you have the part where they're trying to figure out who. There's a traitor in the inside, so we didn't know if it was Toby Jones, James McAvoy, or John Goodman. But it's later on revealed. So the German spy who had the list of names. Well, he had it in his he memorized it pretty much because the list of names was on the watch that was killed by the guy. I mean, that was on the wrist of the guy that was killed later on by the mediocre hitman. But then the mediocre hitman ran to James McAvoy and was like, "Oh, out of all the people, I thought the, I thought I was gonna, come, I thought the best of the best would come for me or whatever." And all of a sudden, bam! James McAvoy stabbed this guy in the head with a freaking knife. Didn't even see it coming. So he pretty much avenged the guy that was killed in the beginning. So he's like, "That's for Jerry," So because that was his friend. So he's like, "That's for Jerry." So then he took the wristwatch that belonged to Jerry that was killed by the mediocre hitman, and he had, with the list of names. So he looked on that list, and it turns out somebody on that list was a triple agent. Sorry, a double agent, pretty much. And I'm pretty sure you know who that is. Charlie Theron's character, Charlie Theron, of course. So, he has a list of names. Then they later on meet the German spy who photographically memorized the whole list of names. So the goal was to get him and his family out of that country. She has a plan of her own, and then James McAvoy has a plan of his own. So he was working with the I guess the mercenaries or the whoever was working for the German kingpin or whatever. So his henchmen came in. They were pretty much ready. There was a crowd of people protesting. Had a sniper rifle on the target, which was the German spy. So Charlie Theron, had her plan and had some allies too. So she started whistling. Next thing you know, everybody lifts up their umbrellas. So she's like, "Oh, that's not part of the plan." James McAvoy's like, "Oh, that's not part of the plan." And then Charlie Theron's like, "Well, this is part of my plan." So they couldn't see the target. It worked for a while until James McAvoy used a silenced pistol and shot the spy. So then now we realize who the person. That's how you. Now we realize who the person on the inside was. Him. He was the guy, the traitor. So, um, but yeah, there was a huge. Later on, he tries to get her, she tries to get him to get the spy into safety, and then runs into the henchman. And then turns out she just. I mean, I mean, it may have been a long fight, but that was a very brutal one, man. Like it took them a while to actually die. But she did it though. She put up quite a fight in that film because I was like, wow, I ain't never seen a woman take that many hits. This one did, and she was fighting. That's the thing. She was fighting like a man. They weren't treating her like a woman. They were treating her like a man, pretty much. So you got that. But I mean, like so then you had that going on, and then there was a car chase, a little brief car chase. One of the henchmen, and then another henchman of the German kingpin or whatever. He's or I guess he's an agent or whatever. But comes in, crashes the car sinks. She tries to save the German spy. He dies, unfortunately, so she saves herself. But she tried though. Then she realized later on that that the house was bugged. But well, the house wasn't bugged. There was a bug planted in her jacket. So then the intelligence agent comes in, you know, to see if he was, to see if Charlize Theron was okay, and then Charlize Theron was like, "Oh, what do you do? What are you doing here? You can't be. You shouldn't be here." She's like, "Oh, I'm worried." So then she's like, "Well, you gotta leave." She calls James McAvoy, makes threats, puts a gun on her pillow. She's packing up, and then next thing you know, James McAvoy, who's in a ski mask, strangles her. There is a struggle. She does stab him, but he eventually succeeds in killing her. Charlize Theron arrives to the apartment to find the intelligence agent dead. She later on, finds James McAvoy, kills him. Um, so then later on, I guess the director's like, okay, that's it. This conversation never happened. That type of thing. Um, so that ends that in the interrogation. And then later on, Charlize Theron meets the I guess the German crime boss, kingpin or agent, whatever, and he tells her that, oh, she worked for him. Gives him the watch that had the list of that's supposed to have the list of names. Um, so later on, she of course she's always prepared. Uh, the I guess the housekeeper or the room service guy comes in, um, with some food and I guess some ice bucket or whatever. So then she's like, okay, but then the German boss or crime lord or agent or whatever was like, okay, we no longer need you, whatever. So the rest of his henchmen come in, got plastic, and and one guy from before, the guy that was in the car when it crashed in the beginning, when he was trying to kill Charlize Theron, and the same guy that crashed the car into the water, almost killing the Russian spy, sorry, the German spy. He was there along with the rest of the remaining henchmen. So then she reaches the ice bucket, pulls out a silenced gun, pops them all, including the guy that was in the car at the beginning, and then the same guy that crashed the car into the water, killing the German spy. So he got his eventually. And then pretty much everybody got theirs. So all the bad guys were pretty much dead. Uh, but then including the German drug lord, kingpin, spy, whatever, not spy or agent or whatever. That's after he realizes that that watch didn't have the list of names or whatever. But he was pretty much the last to go. So so after that happens, then it turns out she was a triple agent. She was working for British intelligence. She was working for the CIA and herself. I mean, that was amazing. And it turns out she was working for John Goodman the entire time. I was like, wow. So that was a unique. So the movie had excellent choreography. The timeline was excellent. The cinematography, the graphics, as far as and I guess transitions were good. Uh, the storyline was good. So I say everything was good, including Charlize Theron. So yeah, despite the critics, I still think it was a good. I would probably have to say that this was Charlize Theron's best movie yet that I've seen. I mean, she's done a lot of good movies, but this one right here is my all time favorite. And but yeah, of course, movie critics were saying something bad, saying, "Oh yeah, this movie's weak and weak in the box office or whatever is no good or tank." I'm like, you know what? Screw them. Screw the critics. They never have nothing good to say anyway. Now the magazine, like Entertainment Magazine, U.S. Weekly, Entertainment Weekly, and L.A. Times or whatever. Of course, they'll have something good to say, but the movie critics, like these professional movie critics, no. And Charlize, or if you're, Miss Theron, if you're listening, do not pay attention to these freaking critics. The movie was good. It was not garbage. It was good. I liked it. I'm definitely buying it on iTunes. So, shout out to you. Keep it up. Keep up the good work. You know, I love your work, and you're my favorite actress. So just wanted to go on record and say that. But yeah, these movie critics need to just shut up. You know, they wouldn't know a good movie if if it was if it fell in a freaking lap. So yeah, I don't listen to movie critics anyway. I have my own opinions. So, but I thought it was good. My dad liked it. Because he was looking forward to that movie for a while. So, but yeah, so I thought it was good, very good. Everything about it was excellent. You Oh, and by the way, those fight scenes that you saw in the trailer, it was pretty much that was all. That was pretty much all the fight scenes in the movie to begin with. So that was kind of funny. But yeah, so that was it. Um, that's it. I'm calling it a day. Feel free to visit us and like us on Facebook. We are available on iTunes and the Google Play Music app.